Hi, and welcome to Green Shoe Conversations. I'm Stephanie Cochran. I am the Executive Director for the Green Shoe Foundation, and welcome to our second podcast. Hopefully you were able to watch last week's podcast and join us. If not, feel free to go back to our Facebook page and our website, and you'll be able to watch that. But today I am joined with my awesome teammates, Miss Teresa Deck and Stephen Brinkworth. Thanks, guys, for coming.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's so glad to see your faces. I've kind of missed y'all and not being able to see you. Probably like most of you guys, we've been all working from home, for the last, 3 months, right? Teresa, you and I were just talking about that.
Yes.
About how long it's been. And so last week, we started the podcast for the first time, which is really exciting. This has kind of been something we've been wanting to do for a while, and really want this to be conversations that we're hearing from what our participants, our alumni, friends, families, things that people are wanting to kind of hear our voice, and hearing kind of different perspectives and things that we can bring to this. So of course, we jumped right into COVID, didn't we? And what it's been like in quarantine. And last week we talked a lot about the heightened anxiety and stress that everybody's been having, and kind of our game plan was to really talk about the mindfulness piece of how to deal with anxiety and stress and how to be present. But that may have kind of shifted in a week, hasn't it? With just kind of in light of everything that's been going on in our community here and across, the nation. I think now we've had a heightened sense maybe of fear, and there's been more pain that we've seen in addition to what we have been going through. Now, you guys have worked together for quite a while at Green Shoe, haven't you?
We have.
2.5 years.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Because Teresa, you're coming up on an anniversary soon, aren't you?
Couple months, it'll be 4 years. Yes.
4 years.
So.
Yes. And then Steve was kind of your partner in crime for a little while, weren't you?
Yes, it was just Steve and I for a while, quite a while. Yes.
Exactly. So it's kind of, I appreciate you two kind of being willing to talk about this topic and really share a lot of, your knowledge with this. So, what is today's new reality? What are we seeing?
We're seeing a lot of heightened emotions, and we're seeing a lot of individuals who aren't able to stay present and mindful. We talk about a window of tolerance and what that is. That means we can't think and feel at the same time. Our emotions become either so strong that it shuts down the front part of our thinking brain, or we disconnect and dissociate and we don't respond at all. So that window of tolerance, we're seeing individuals that are living outside of their window of tolerance.
When you say that, what does that look like? How are we seeing that?
That looks like individuals who are angry and yelling and cannot contain their emotions, or they're sad and hysterical and crying their sadness. So they're not able to contain and express what they're thinking and feeling at the same time. So that's what that looks like, that out of control behaviors. Like a child, when you think about a child being out of control, they're not able to handle the emotions that they're feeling because they don't have the tools to stay present and be mindful. And so that is what has happened now with a lot of what's going on in our nation.
Teresa, as I'm listening to you, one of the things that comes to my mind is and we talk about this with our groups often, what Pia Melody says that codependency is. And it's a disorder of immaturity that comes from relational trauma. And so as today, if something is going on, if I get outside of that window of tolerance, I'm not engaging in a way that's mature for me at my current age. So I'm at one extreme or the other. I may be one extreme where there's an intensity that is shown. There may be another where I'm shut down and completely gone internal without being able to identify how to get out of this.
And if we didn't learn those skills, how to handle our emotions in childhood than as an adult. When we get stressed, when we feel overwhelmed with anger, which we need to have that feeling of anger when injustice happens. And so anger is a very healthy emotion, but we need to learn to express it in healthy ways.
Yes.
You guys have both talked about, with that window of tolerance, and I know it's different for everybody. We see and we have seen the out of control. I think that's pretty easy to recognize. But Steve, you mentioned that we can shut down, that's also out of our window of tolerance. Can you talk a little bit more about that part?
One of the things that I've noticed with that shutdown, and I've heard friends and people in the community talk about this too, is how difficult it can be to have some of the necessary conversations in this moment. And so if I'm shut down, what I may be doing is keeping my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings to myself, and not sharing my reality of what my experience is. Being shut down, it's keeping me from being connected with those that are important to me, that are valuable relationships in my life.
We talk about that in the retreats, that our emotional boundaries, and that when we keep people out, when we disconnect, and then we're not able to share what we need to share with others so that they know how we're impacted by the things that are happening, because that's healthy to be able to express and to not shut it down, not shove it down. But when we were a child, we respond many times an adult when things happen out of our control, like we did when we were a child. And if it wasn't safe for us to talk about what we felt then as an adult, we don't feel safe to talk about what we share. And having those, I like, Steve, when you brought up the difficult conversations that we need to have about what's going on with our children, with ourselves, with our friends, our spouses. We need to talk about it in a healthy way, in an adult way.
Yes.
I know we've been talking about this probably over the last week about how to be present, about mindfulness. And I know for us, we've kind of talked about our shifts and different things, but I've been listening to some very difficult conversations this week. And you're right, Teresa, it's real quick to the moment it feels hard, then maybe I want to pick up my phone and scroll through Facebook or kind of disconnect in some kind of way. But I've had your voice in the back of my head saying, be present, and just do that. And it's hard, but that is, what's the connection between that being present and how that shapes our reality?
Steve, you want to talk about that, or you want me to?
I think we could both have some pieces that may hit on that. One thing I noticed for myself, and I've loved the definition of what mindfulness is, that I'm paying attention on purpose without passing judgment. And so,
hey, wait, stop. Say that again. That was good.
With mindfulness, I'm paying attention on purpose without passing judgment.
Okay.
I'm not deciding whether or not this is good or bad. I'm becoming aware. And so one of the things, as you mentioned, Facebook might be a way that some people disconnect. It can also be a way that sometimes I'm connecting with way too much for what I need right now. And so realizing what is it that I am paying attention to? So if I'm engaging in something that is causing an emotional response to get too big, I need to have a healthy boundary with what it is that I'm doing so that I'm taking care of myself in an appropriate way.
Yeah.
I have information about what's going on, but do I need to have a constant influx of information that is repeating some of the same painful things without having an ability to manage what's going on for myself? So I found that in being mindful about what I'm doing for me, I need to put the phone down from time to time, as opposed to pick it up. And so that way I'm able to be present and mindful with my family, with my friends, and not so much with things that are outside of not only my relationships, but outside of my community.
Yeah.
And that mindfulness, that paying attention on purpose, is internally. What's going on with you inside? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what do you notice in your body? Do you notice this? Do you notice your heart pounding? Do you notice your palms sweating? Do you notice your feet going up and down? Or so what do you notice inside of yourself? And paying attention to that on purpose.
That brings up another question that we ask sometimes at Green Shoe. I say sometimes, it comes up quite often, but that awareness of what's going on inside of us, how old do I feel with that? Becoming aware of what's going on for me, being mindful of that internally. How old do I feel right now? Because there may be a piece of me that feels really scared and wants to disconnect and retreat. There may be a piece of me that is wanting to reach out in ways and express things that are not in a healthy fashion, more reactive. And so being mindful of how old I feel in this moment, because in my present state, in the here and now, at this age, I have the tools and the ability to be present and connect. And so if I'm getting out of that present moment, that's an opportunity for me to get back in balance.
Those are great points. We talk about reality. That's actually one of Pia's core issues. It's part of one of the 5 core issues. Teresa, you want to kind of talk about that in the core issue concept that Pia Melody describes in our model?
Certainly. Our reality is who we are. It is made up of what we think and what we feel, our emotions, and how we express that in our behaviors. And so we learned our reality about who we are by our parents, how they treated us, and how how we expect other people to treat us. And so our reality was formed. We learned who we are in childhood. And so now if we didn't feel valued, we didn't know that we're a person of worth and value now. So that impacts our reality on what we think about ourselves, what we think about other people. Is it safe? Are they safe? Because safety is a huge issue for individuals, especially right now, individuals not feeling safe. I don't know what's going to happen today. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Safety with COVID and safety with all the other injustice that's going on right now. So that's a part of our reality, is how we feel and how we express that, how we learned how to express that. And so who do I need to be for you is an unhealthy way to live. But who do I want to be for me? What do I want to think? And what do I want to feel? And how do I want to respond? Instead of acting out as a child, I want to be able to control what I say and how I act. That's my reality.
And one thing that we're hearing so much, again, through everything, social media, friends, family, is this new norm, new reality that we're coming out. And how important is it for us to use by being present helps me create what my new reality needs to be? How do those, connect, or how do we make that transition? I mean, for us, our new reality for a while was being at home and working from home, and having to meet through telehealth, with folks and with each other. I mean, that was how, we were able to be present and still connect with each other, which for me was vital when we had, have those opportunities.
Absolutely. And that new normal and that reality of what our new normal is, accepting that, and not denying what we're feeling. We felt sad. I felt angry at times that I was at home and I couldn't do what I was doing before. So there was anger and sadness, fear. Will we ever get to go back? How many people are going to die? So that new normal, being present, accepting what I feel. And when I go out and have to put my mask on, still when I go to the grocery store or to Home Depot, how can I be present? And what do I feel when somebody encroaches on my boundary, on my space, six feet away, the social distancing? How do I feel? Being present and being able to accept what I feel, that's okay, because that is my reality of what I feel and what I'm thinking. And so accepting that, being mindful of who I am and what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, you want to add anything to that about?
I really liked that the last part of what you were discussing just before Stephanie asked this question about who do I need to be for somebody else versus who do I need to be for me. What do I want to be for me? And that's, I think, a huge piece of this new norm as well, is keeping in mind, being mindful of how I'm responding. Is this something that I'm trying to do for someone else? Or am I being true and authentic in my actions, in my thoughts, in my feelings? Am I being present with myself and what I need in this moment?
Mm-hmm. And I know when I do that, part of this being present and even what we're going through, there's been a lot of positives. You know, by being present, I've had these moments with my family that I would not have had in that time. And even conversations, we've been able to slow down. I mean, just think about what we've been able to do too, and those positive moments. And by being present and in that moment, I'm able to capture that and not just stay caught up in the negative aspects of everything with that. Last week, we kind of went through some tips, you know, and I think we had the whole team on and all talking about different things, from dealing with anxiety to, you know, exercise and making sure that we routine and different things. When you talk about window of tolerance, I'm kind of reminded it's kind of like a muscle. The more that I work on the mindfulness aspect, I can really increase and secure my window of tolerance. And who knows how, by coming out of this, what that can look like. So when you say mindfulness or be present, are there some actual physical things I can do or others can do to practice that?
Yes, there are. There are quite a few. And one of the things that I'm reminded of is to exercise you can do anywhere, as long as you're not in car driving, but it's to put your right hand over your heart and put your left hand on your abdomen. If you want to close your eyes, that's fine. You don't have to close your eyes, but then you're able to feel your breath as you breathe in through your nose, and you feel your chest rise, and as you blow out slowly through your mouth, you feel that on your abdomen. It connects you to your body. I'm feeling me. This is feeling me. So that's an awesome exercise you can do several times a day to connect. And do that for about a minute. And just breathe in slowly through your nose and blow out slowly through your mouth with your hand on your heart and your left hand on your abdomen. This is a very good exercise for mindfulness.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just about the breathing, but about physically connecting to yourself.
Absolutely. And as you do that, you can focus. Shut out your thoughts, focus your thoughts just on your breathing and what you're feeling and what you're noticing. You will immediately notice you calming down when you do that. So, and if you're having trouble staying focused, if you're out of control, your anger or your emotions or your sadness, if you focus that yourself on you and what you're feeling in your body, it will quiet some of those emotions that are out of control.
That's great. Steve?
Teresa, thinking about that quieting, I also think about one of the pieces we do when we start Mondays and going internal and what's coming up for us and getting in touch with those parts that may be coming up and recognizing that they hold some valuable information for us. Able to extend some compassion and some gratitude to those parts, even if it feels negative at the time, to be able to extend that compassion. And one of the things that, as we've done some time together and some trainings together, that's really been fascinating to me too, is that aspect of compassion taps into our caregiving system neurologically, which also helps to activate that parasympathetic nervous system to help bring down any of that intensity that may be pushing me towards being outside of that window of tolerance.
That's the brake. The parasympathetic is our brake, and that slows us down and calms us down. The gas pedal or the sympathetic is what we need when we have energy and to be alert, but we need to stimulate the other part to calm us down. So one other easy activity is a grounding exercise where you practice sitting in a chair and pressing your feet to the floor. Noticing sensations when you press your feet to the floor that it has on your legs and on your feet and on your back. What do you notice? And pay attention to your thoughts and your feelings and your body sensations when you have your feet grounded, connected into the earth. You can even visualize roots going from the bottom of your feet into the ground. I am connected to the here and now and present. That's an awesome exercise to do as well.
That is great. Steve, you mentioned, and I want to kind of reiterate this point, that in that exercise that Teresa leads all of us through on Mondays, she asked us to look inside, and if we feel things that maybe we don't want to feel, and you talked about negative feelings, we're big about there's no bad feelings, but there's just things about us that sometimes we don't feel good about, to actually extend gratitude to that. And that was a new thing for me, that I am thankful. And by doing that, you're right, that compassion comes into play. And so I want to make sure people hear that. It's good to go in and be thankful and grateful for those parts of us, and offer that gratitude to that. You kind of mentioned this early on in the conversation about, again, with the heightened feelings, and Teresa, you say emotions, because it's everything. It's not just anymore about the stress, anxiety, and the worry, but we've kind of that fear, that pain, the sadness, all of it's kind of coming in. And social media and the media play such a role in the information that we get. And yes, we even said last week, make sure we're taking breaks from that. It's funny that I was having a conversation with our beloved social media person, Amanda, today. And, social media is not all bad.
No.
Again, and I know for us, we're wanting to be that positive voice and a see right now if things are kind of overwhelming. And so I think it's important that if you're looking into that, and I'm a Facebook addict, I'll admit it, but yeah, I love the funny dog videos, and I need those things. So I'm searching for the positive, and I'll scroll past the negative right now. So I'm kind of monitoring and being very mindful of the things that I am looking at. And listening to, spending more time listening to music or watching concerts, doing stuff like that, versus being in some of that negative. Firm believer it's important to be informed. I absolutely agree, but I'm being very careful about what I'm spending my time scrolling on.
And how much
Yes.
and how much we are paying attention to that. Because as Steve said, shut it off. We don't need any more negativity. Yes, information is good, but we don't need to dwell on it. How do I need to respond? That's what I think we need to focus on.
Yeah. And I find it helps me stay in that window of tolerance, because you're right. I don't want to get onto somebody's Facebook and start, grappling back and forth. That's not what I'm doing. And it keeps me in that good window of tolerance.
Just like you had mentioned, with us making that effort to be a part of putting out some helpful information and some healthy information, that it reminds me of Mr. Rogers and looking for the helpers.
Yeah.
And how important that is to recognize that even amidst things that may be difficult, there are people actively working to help and heal.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of good, and technology, we talked earlier about being online like this during this time, and it's not been a tool that I've used outside of this before now, but it has also been a tool that has helped me and several friends that are outside of Oklahoma connect and to have face-to-face conversations when we've not been able to see each other in a very long time. And that's a beautiful, beautiful way to connect.
Yeah. I got to have a conversation the other day. I got to be a part of it. There was over 300 people from all across the United States. And we were able to do breakout rooms and just talk. And I heard perspectives from people I didn't know and would never had the opportunity to hear their story. And I got to. And so, yes, that was absolutely important. And now recognizing that this gets to be part of our new reality. Being able to use the technology to connect with people that we might not have connected with before. So, well, guys, we are almost out of time. Hey, it was so good talking with y'all. I really miss you. And again, we're going to be doing this every week. We have some pretty exciting news because hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we'll actually get to do this more face-to-face. If you're not familiar with Green Shoe Foundation, we offer a weekly retreat, 5-day intensive outpatient program for adults 21 and older. You can absolutely go to our website to get more information and details about the program. Now, back in March, we all had to close due to COVID, but we are going to be reopening groups starting in July. And so this is an opportunity. If it's something you're interested in, absolutely check out the website to get more information. And there's a registration page that you can go on to be able to talk with one of us more in detail. Next week, we're going to continue this conversation. We've talked a lot about the body-mind connection. And so Rebecca Holt, one of our other therapists, is going to join me, and she's going to get into talking more about what that body connection is. If you've ever heard about the book, The Body Keeps a Score, we all can't recommend it more, and kind of get into more talking about how our emotions and everything, and even our experiences and trauma get in there and affect our body. So again, thanks guys for joining. And we look forward to seeing everybody and talking to everybody next week. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.